Okay, let's get this show on the road. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to SICC's webinar on Unleashing Growth Mindset. Now, if there was ever a time that we all need to think about doing just that, it's right now, as we all come to terms with transforming, repositioning our businesses in order to survive. And it's a real pleasure to have Derek Aris from our member company, Lightbulb Capital. Derek is one of the most enthusiastic communicators I know, and I think we're in for a fun, interactive webinar, which is exactly what we need on a Tuesday morning. You will see at the bottom of your screen in the toolbar, there's a Q&A function. Please make use of that at any time during Derek's presentation. He'll be speaking for about an hour, punctuated with activities to make sure we stay awake and engaged. And then I'll pose the questions to Derek during the Q&A segment after his comments and remarks. He's very kindly said that if we don't have time to answer all the questions, he's happy to do so after the webinar, and then we will get back to you with his responses. So that's terrific. And thanks, Derek, for that and for being with us this morning. So ladies and gentlemen, with no further ado, I'm going to hand over to Derek. Thanks, Derek.
Thank you. Thank you, Victor. And thank you everyone. I'm going to just go through a little bit of admin before we get started because I just need to set things up. So I'm going to share the screen now and make sure that that all works okay. And also, I think audio is all good as well, so we should be good that way. Give me 1 second here. I just want to check to make sure that the screen is okay and everyone is all systems are go. So I think we're good as far as welcome to Unleashing of the Growth Mindset, and it's a real privilege to be here. Let me have a quick sip of coffee and then we're going to get into the section. Okay, so let's start. Look, we've already talked a little bit about what's setting up. We've got a lot of so this is a really hot topic right now, is growth mindset, frame of mind, to be able to deal with all the continuous change that seems to be going on. So please, I want to just a quick online thing. Big welcome to all of you. I hope you've had a coffee, or if not, go grab one, and I'll fill in any of the gaps. This is a collaborative experience. So I know Victor has said you can type into the Q&A section any particular questions that you have. Please do engage, write lots of questions down. I'm going to take a break or two in between this because, you know, I find when we're talking digitally, people seem to get, I find it draining. So I'm not sure if you will, but I'm going to take a little break to stretch or something. You can take notes. I do want you to take some notes. And the reason for that is because we're going to be doing some little exercises. I'm going to ask some questions. And it's awesome if you could go about answering them in the Q&A section, or just say, put your hand up and go, okay, let's have a quick talk on that. So let's get started. Okay, so we're talking about growth mindset. This is a picture of a brain, and I love it because it's got all this activity that's going on in the brain. And recently I was reading an article, and I still have to substantiate it, but it says that the brain produces a tremendous amount of energy every single day. So every brain apparently produces enough energy to power all the mobile telephones on the planet. Every person's brain has that amount of capacity. I go, whoa.
Derek, excuse me. A couple of folks in the audience have said that you're not on full screen with your presentation.
Oh, okay.
So of course they can't see it so well. Could you maybe put your presentation on full screen?
Yes, sure. Let me try this one. Hang on. How's that? Does that work?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, cool. Sorry, on my screen, it's the reverse. My fault. So my display screen is okay. Anyway, look, that's great. So you guys can see that. Perfect. Thank you for picking that up. Okay. So still picture of the brain, still lots of lots of activity, and please, anything like that as well, let's just keep communicating this way. Then we'll make the presentation better for you. Okay, thank you. So the brain, lots of activity and energy going on. Then I ran into this number, and it's basically a 4 with 15 zeros on it. So you can count the 15 zeros, but essentially what that's saying, that is, and I'll give you the research at the end of the actual session, but that was a calculation done for fun or otherwise on the probability of us existing. So this 4 plus 15 zeros is basically a super small probability of us being able to actually exist. So 2 cells coming together and forming human beings. So those kind of bets make us kind of remarkable just to be on the planet, to be communicating, to be doing things. Why do I talk about this? I talk about this because it's pretty remarkable that we're here. And one of the powerful things that we need to do is figure out how we, since we're already pretty amazing to be here, how do we actually perform and take advantage of the fact that we're already working against some incredible odds to exist. So today's talk is going to be about mindset and success, a little bit about what does mindset really mean, why should it be important? You know, there's the word is buzzing around, but let's get into some depth on that. Can you actually change a mindset once you understand what it is? And then there's a secret bonus. So if all of you guys are excited and keen, I'm going to give you a bonus feature that I normally don't, to actually get you keen on understanding and impressing people on mindset. So one of the things I want to do is I want you to think about which one of these things do you want to know more about and take away. So this is more something, okay, all of these are kind of interesting, but I definitely want to see this particular section. I want you to think about that. And as we go through this, I want you to now, I'm going to be asking you questions, and you can answer them or not. I think it's cool if you do. I mean, you don't have to answer them to me, but it's for yourself, because this is kind of the exercise that you can do to actually start thinking about, okay, what can I learn from this particular section? Now, here is a preference question. It's basically, do you like to try new things, often push yourself into uncharted territories, professionally or in your personal development, or do you tend to stick with what you know? There's no wrong or right answer. You know, on some things, if I were to answer it, there's stuff that I like to just stick with. And then there's other stuff that I'm constantly pushing myself to do limits on. Why am I asking you to think about this? Because it kind of shows the preference of where you are right now. And that's important. Because once you know where you are, you can figure out where you want to go. So why do some people, the next question on this is, once you figure that out, is, because as I said before, there's no wrong or right answer to any of this. It's just what your preference is. Then you think about, or what I think about is more along the lines of, why do some people really seem to thrive? They inside and outside of work. Lots of us do really well, but there are some people that seem to go that little bit further. And what are those qualities? And is it something like in Kung Fu Panda? Is there a secret ingredient soup inside there? Like, what's the secret ingredient to actually make people move forward? So just like in Kung Fu Panda, what seems to be that special ingredient that makes them super special? So no matter where you look, there are incredible people around us in different industries. I pulled this out from an article that recently came out on 40 people under 40 that are changing the world. And why I put this up is not necessarily to promote the organization, but there's so much diversity, gender diversity, location diversity, background diversity. All these people from all these different backgrounds seem to move forward well. If you look through historical examples of people as well, so if it's from Thomas Edison or Henry Ford or Stephen Jobs or just a whole spectrum of different famous people, why were these people moving forward? And how do they keep moving forward and progressing and stepping into the right thing? So the summary on all of this seems to be, it's about the mindset. Sure, there's lots of other skills, but there's different components of it, but often it's about their frame of mind. How do they see the world? So what exactly is mindset? Well, for the purposes of this talk, I want to say mindset is, and I like doing definitions because then you can disagree with what I say, as opposed to just me assuming that everyone's thinking on the same line. So for me, the thing is this: mindset is the establishment of a set of ideas and beliefs and values held by someone. It's your set of values and beliefs. In organizations, it's the organization's set of values and beliefs, but everyone has their point of view on things. And I'm sure, like when I'm talking to my mom, she's got a different point of view than I have on stuff, but that's her mindset. That's her frame of mind. The next question though is, okay, if you understand that, why is it important? Like, why should I really care? Well, the reason why you should care is because it directly impacts your behavior, your approach to life, the way you learn, and the way you do things at work. Your attitudes shape all of this stuff. And you might go, that's common sense. I think we forget about that a lot. I think we forget that it's only our perception that actually shapes the way we actually approach it. So it's important. So why is it important in business? Because if with mindset, it's instrumental in seeing things from a beneficial perspective. If you've got the right mindset, there's lots of opportunities. If you've got the wrong mindset, everything is a challenge, is very limited. So that's why mindset's important. Let's look at a little bit of this. As I said, mindset is this lens that you look through in life. So for example, with me, as if you're seeing me, I'm wearing some glasses. Now, the screen in front of me, the lights, the room is all exactly the same. And right now with these glasses, everything is perfectly clear. If I take this off, the room has not changed, right? The lights, the background, everything in the room, the screens are all the same, except I get a bonus feature on this. Everything's fuzzy, right? Now, what has happened? Well, the lens has shaped my eyes so that I can now see things from a particular point of view and everything's clear. Mindset is a little bit like this. So I'm going to take you through a couple of examples. Number one is taking a look at this. And on this particular screen, my question is, what do you see? So take a minute and you go, oh, I think I know this one. Well, this isn't a quiz on whether or not there's a wrong or right answer. It's what do you see? Do you see, for instance, a vase? And for those of you that can see a vase, go, yep, I got the vase. Or do you see two people facing each other? So why do I ask this is because some people automatically see two people facing each other. Other people see a vase. Now, my question to you is this. If I asked you for a moment to see the vase, you can eliminate the black images and look at the white images and you can see the vase. If you eliminate the white image and look at the two black images, now you can see two people facing each other. For the majority of people that have gone through this, you're switching your point of view. The image hasn't changed. There's no magic behind it. It's just how you're looking at it, your perspective has changed. But let's try this again here. What's the first thing that you see here, right? Again, is it a woman's face? Can you see a woman's face? Or can you see a group of people? Again, is it a woman's face or is it a group of people? Or can you switch between the two? Is it both? So you get the idea that the way you look at it can be more or less meaningful. However, I want to bore you a little. I want to go back to something that you would have seen a million times and heard a million times. Glass of water, right? So a glass of water that's half full. Is it half full? Is it half empty? Am I optimistic? Am I pessimistic? Understand that. Now, some of you are taking a deep breath and going, oh, I've seen this a million times. Why are you putting up this for us to look at? The reason why I'm putting it up is as follows. There's much more than just two perspectives on this, right? The glass could be half full, which is optimistic. The glass could be half empty, which is pessimistic. The glass could just be a glass of water, which is realistic, right? The glass could be liquid and gas, which is a physicist's point of view. My point is there's so many different points of view that are out there, and we have the ability to actually shift between these things. So don't just think that there's one way of looking at things, because realistically or optimistically or pessimistically, there's many, many ways of looking at stuff. So for me, mindset is pretty much everything. It impacts so many things that we actually do. So for example, in this picture, it's raining. Somebody is thrilled about it. Somebody is less than thrilled or a little grumpy about it. A big question though in the area of mindset is it nature or is it nurture? Are you born with a particular frame of mind? Or, so is it there, or do you learn it over time? So the answer is probably yes. We all have a bit of both. So I think it's, from my experience and what I'm reading and seeing and talking to people about, is it's a little bit of both. You need to be able to mix them up. We don't all start with the same opportunity, but over time, things balance out and you can push things forward to be able to get where you want to go. Okay, so that's to talk about the mindset side of things. But now, how about mindset and this concept called growth mindset? So I want to talk here a little bit about this great researcher. I'm actually going to skip this for a second, go back to her book. Carol Dweck. Carol Dweck's been doing this research in mindset for over 40 years. She's not the only person that has worked on mindset. In fact, there's lots of people that have done it. But I think with Carol's work, it's a more popular one, and the model that she uses is quite good. So she's from Stanford University. She's been on TED Talks. I mean, she's very popular. There have been different organizations that work directly with her. Essentially, she's an educational psychologist. So she's very much on how do we learn and how do we grow and how do we move things forward. So so what we do here is, she's written this book called Mindset and the New Psychology of Success. So so it talks about how we learn, how we fulfill our potential, how we move forward. And what she's essentially done is she's created this model called growth mindset versus fixed mindset. And what she was doing, and she's created this in the point of view of, it's a continuum. So a fixed mindset is the way a person with a fixed mindset looks at the world. A growth mindset is the way a person with a growth mindset looks at the world. And there's a continuum between it. So it stretches. Now you might go, what's fixed mindset and what's growth mindset? Well, here's the interesting thing. Carol Dweck is an educational psychologist, and she was researching, one of her research studies was dealing with 1,700 kids. And they were all about 7 years of age. And she was looking at giving them tasks that frustrated them, and how did they react to doing frustrating tasks. So the way that she did that was, she gave them a frustrating task and she observed their behavior. Kind of cool project, I guess. And a lot of kids went a bit like the way I would go, like, this is such a frustrating thing, and I hope I could finally get over it so I can go play with my toys or whatever. But what she also found was there was another group of kids, and the other group of kids were curious about it. So they would come up to her and say, hey, Miss Dweck, this wasn't frustrating at all. What I'm going to say is, thank you very much, Miss Dweck, for this challenge. I really learned a lot from it. I really developed a lot from it. So I look forward to doing the next round of stuff. Very interesting, because she's going, what's wrong with those kids? But she said the kids that were frustrated seem to have this thing called a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset is more along the lines of, you're born with the resources that you have. That's all there is. So talent and abilities are all capped. They're all, there's no such thing as being able to develop stuff. It's all about, I've got what I've got. So these people believe that they're naturally good at something or naturally not good at something. That intelligence is something that is fixed, and once it's determined, that's all you can do with it. People with a fixed mindset have this tendency, because they're working with limited resources, they consistently want to validate themselves. They want to move forward on the stuff that they have. A fixed mindset person also sees their talents and abilities as capped, and they tend to spend more time trying to work towards justifying it than moving on and taking steps forward. Now, like as I said, none of this is wrong or right, or good or bad. It's just, this is the way people are looking at the world right now. But an example of this would be, let's say you've got you've got an iOS system on your phone, so you've got your mobile phone, and you have a tendency to stick with Apple because you know how to work with that. Whereas if you shifted from iOS to Android, and because the system might be better, or you might upload a particular system more fixed mindset people wouldn't have a tendency to do that. They would have a tendency to stick with what they knew and what they were familiar with. So, so we've got the idea of a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset also, though, has a tendency to avoid challenges and say that they're limited with what they learn because no matter what they learn, it doesn't seem to help or assist them. So, so it's really fixed. It's like in this particular space. Growth mindset people, or people with a growth mindset, or people that are working on a growth mindset, have this other belief. It's not about you have what you have. It's more about you can develop things with putting effort into it. Putting things in with effort means that they believe anyone can be good at pretty much anything, and that their ability can be developed through perseverance, dedication, and practice. So people with a growth mindset focus, rather than this is what I have, limited resources, they say more of what I need to do is I need to focus on developing who I am and what I am. So growth mindset people have a tendency to believe talent comes from application and hard work. Everything around them is about this desire to continuously learn and develop. So for me, this is a big impact, because when you make a mistake, it's not necessarily a mistake in a bad way. It's a mistake. You change that to, what do I learn from this particular thing so that I can move forward on it? I won't repeat it because I've learned from it, as opposed to it was a frustrating experience. Growth mindsets also encourage people to embrace challenges. So because when they're embracing a challenge, they're embracing something that they can learn from. And also they persevere through setbacks, because setbacks need to happen in order for them to continue to learn. So that's why I put the little red thing on as far as learning. Learning is pivotal in the growth mindset point of view. Often, growth mindset people don't walk away from things when they get difficult, because they're putting effort in to actually learn and grow and develop from it. And often when it's people tend to, a growth mindset people, when they see other people succeeding in a similar path, they go and approach those people to get more inspiration, learn from them, and grow their success forward. So that's the growth mindset versus fixed mindset people. But then what does all of that look like? And this is the part that I find really interesting. I mean, this is something I found on the internet, but it kind of balances out how people look at things. So, you know, in a situation where I'm not good at something, a fixed mindset person might say this, whereas a growth mindset person, when they're working at a problem, might say, oh, well, what am I missing and how can I update it? Another one is, I go to number 7, I made a mistake, is a situation that I constantly do personally, and a growth mindset goes, look, I made the mistake. But the fixed mindset person says that. The growth mindset person says, you know what, mistakes help me learn and do better. So I made the mistake, I learned what to do from that, and I'm going to move forward. But my favorite one is, which kind of summarizes it, is the last one, which is number 10. Plan A didn't work. Okay, well, that didn't work. That's the end of the story. A growth mindset person goes, oh, good thing that the alphabet has 25 more letters. There's more possibilities for it. It's a fun little chart, but it also highlights very much the differences between growth mindset and fixed mindset. So why do I have this brain doing some exercise on there? Well, because people developing a growth mindset, just like developing a fixed mindset, takes work. So you need to actually work at it. So why do I put up Warren Buffett or Michael Jordan or J.K. Rowling or Jackie Chan? Well, you know what? All of these people, I'm convinced, have had some form of growth mindset. So Michael Jordan, for instance, big basketball player in the past. Actually, if you see Nike shoes, you'll see a silhouette of him in Air Jordans. But more importantly, I mean, he was a dramatic driver in the NBA, or National Basketball Association. He was seen as an average player. Now, of course, he's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Average player in average height, so he wasn't taller than any of the other players. He wasn't necessarily better. But when you read his biography or autobiography, you see that he worked really hard to get where he was going, and he constantly had challenges, and he needed to update himself continuously. J.K. Rowling, same thing. Most of you would have heard about her whole Harry Potter series, and that she'd been working on it for years, and lots of publishers weren't interested in her. And then one publisher whose child was reading the actual book decided to give her a chance, and then from there, continuous growth and development to move over and create an empire of storytelling, which is amazing. And yeah, and then there's series that are coming out from her books now. Jackie Chan, I put Jackie Chan down because I'm a big Jackie Chan fan. Why? Because, you know, he started off as a stuntman, and then after working on stunts with continuous learning and development, he's basically like not only a movie star, but he's a movie producer. And every couple of years, he's still producing films that are A-grade quality, great ideas. I mean, we could debate on what your thoughts are on his movies, but he started as a stuntman and he continuously moved and grows. So enough of that. You got the idea, growth mindset, fixed mindset, the two sides. Which one are you? So we're going to give you a quiz now, and we're going to ask you a couple of questions. So, and I want you to be able to answer them. So here's the way it's going to work. I just want you to write down, this is about 4 questions, and don't overthink this, but just answer it as which one of these do you, so for instance, answer each question dealing with intelligence. So write down one and go, your intelligence is basic and you can't change it very much. Do you agree with that? So write an A, or disagree, and then just put that down. Then for the next question, you can learn new things, but you can't change how intelligent you are. So write number 2 and then write agree or disagree with that statement. Question number 3, no matter how intelligent you are, you can change quite a bit. Do you agree with that statement or do you disagree with that statement? 4th question, you have the ability to significantly change how intelligent you are. Do you agree with that statement? Do you disagree with that statement? So that's all you get for this first part. Now I'm going to ask you a couple of more questions. This is dealing with business skills. So your business skills are very basic and you can't change it very much. Do you agree with that question or do you disagree with that question? So just write one and then either agree or disagree. Question number 2. You can learn new things, but you can't change how good your business skills are. Do you agree with that question or statement or disagree with that statement? No matter how strong your business skills are, you can change quite a bit. Agree or disagree? And then the 4th one, you have the ability to significantly change your business skills. Agree or disagree? Okay, so we've gone through 2. We are going to go through one more set of questions. Your creativity is very basic and you can't change it very much. So this one's talking about creativity. So do you agree or disagree with that? Next question. You can learn new things, but you can't change how good your creative skills are. Agree or disagree? 3rd question. No matter how strong your creative skills are, you can change quite a bit. Agree or disagree? And you have the ability to significantly change your creative skills. Agree or disagree? So we talked about creativity, we talked about intelligence, and we talked about business skills. So far, so good. Well, why are we doing this, Derek? Very good question. If you agreed with questions 1 or 2, so I'll go. So then that reflects more of a fixed mindset. So here, for instance, 1 or 2, if you agreed that your creativity is basic and you can't change it, you agree with it, it's a fixed mindset answer. Number 2, same thing. If you agree with that, it's a fixed mindset answer. Question 3 and 4, if you agree with them, then they reflect more of a growth mindset point of view. Now, I didn't mix it up because we're doing this digitally and I wanted to keep the whole exercise quite simple. But for each one of those different questions, if you agreed with the first ones, it's more fixed mindset. If you disagreed with the first 1 and 2, it's more of a growth mindset. And then the reverse for questions 3 and 4, if you agreed with their statements, those are more of a growth mindset. And if you disagreed more with those last sessions, it was a fixed mindset. So what does that mean? Well, it's more along the lines of, where do you see yourself when you position yourself on this mindset continuum? Remember how I said it's a continuum. So where do you position yourself as far as intelligence, creativity, and business skills is really up to you. The beautiful thing about this is there's no wrong or right answer. It's only understanding your position. And once you know your position, you can determine whether or not you want to change, right? So you might go, no, I think creativity is the way it is. Fine. That is just, like I said, it's your lens. It's how you're looking at things. Other people see things other ways. So more of the question is, how much do you want to learn from this? So mindset also has this tendency, because when we're dealing with this, there's a whole spectrum of different types of qualities and skills that these deal with, and personality traits. And the personality traits lines up with mindset also deals with your personality. You can be fixed and stay with what you are, or you can be growth and you can learn and change your personalities. So all of this for me is fascinating, but also very important, because it comes down to what I'm going to talk about a little later. It's about a choice thing. Once you understand that there's different things, there's choices. So what we need to do now is understand that mindset is not an all or nothing switch. It's not just you have one or you have the other. You can actually balance between those two. So looking at how it works is very important. And those little quizzes are just the beginning of saying, well, how do I actually start looking at the world, and do I want to change or not? As I said, you don't want to change, great. You do want to change, also great. It's your choice. That's the exciting thing about this. So I'm showing a couple of people that, because it comes down to choices now. Tom Morello, so there's a group called Rage Against the Machine, Rage in the Machine, a Grammy Award-winning guitarist, is actually studied at Harvard University law, and then said, you know, I really had a passion and I wanted to learn the guitar, and I had no talent whatsoever when I started. And then I got really, really passionate, and I wanted to continuously learn. So for him, this is a gentleman who actually testifies. He says, look, I didn't know anything about a guitar, and yet through continuously learning and development, had the ability to actually become a Grammy Award-winning guitarist, and super creative in his space. Other creative people, this gentleman called Steve Martin. Again, when you look at his stuff, I was reading some stuff on him, a great autobiography, but also you don't need to read the books. You can just go to something called Masterclass. Not that I'm endorsing Masterclass or not endorsing it, but it's basically a group of famous, well-known people across different industries, and they talk about their careers and what they're passionate about and how to do a masterclass in their area. So Steve Martin was doing one on comedy, which I worked through, and not that I'm very funny, but I mean, he is. And he said, you know, when I started in comedy, no talent whatsoever. I had to constantly learn, develop, and grow. So again, this proof of actually learning and growing and moving forward is important. Jack Ma, sure, now, I mean, Alibaba is a powerhouse, and when you look at his history, there was, you know, very much a people person, but everything that I hear about and review from what Jack Ma is talking about and how he drives forward deals with learning, growing, and developing. So I put a couple of these people in more along the lines of just to show you that there's some really cool people out there that seem to have these things that deal with mindset. So mindsets are only your simple beliefs. Carol Dweck believes that they're so powerful that that they can actually do some. They're not, even though they're just in your mind, under the right circumstances, they actually can impact the way you go and how you move forward on things. Okay, so all really cool, Derek. Thanks. So now, as promised, It's about 10:42. What I want you to do is I want to just take a little bit of a break. I want you to give yourself a little stretch. And the reason why is for two things. One is we've gone through a lot of information, and now here's the part that's going to, I want you to be awake for, or more awake for, because it's actually how you go about changing your mindset if you choose to do it. So just a 30-second stretch. There's two reasons for it. One is I realize that I've got a couple of videos that I need to show you, and I've got to stop share for a minute, put the audio on, and then come back. But just do a stretch for 30 seconds, and then let me do my audio change for a second. All right, so we're cool on that. Share audio sound, PowerPoint, presentation, good. Let's check this out. Okay, let's see. Oops, no, don't want to leave. I want to share. Okay, so no. Yes, actually I do. Okay, we're doing okay here. Share screen. Okay, so you did your stretch. That's all you get, and we're going to keep going. Just a quick cross check. I think these are reversed. Let's see. All right. So please just anybody unmute and say if the screen's looking the wrong way, because I think we're good. I think we're good. Cool. So, all right. Welcome back. Next round. Here we go. Another chunk of information coming your way. So how do we change our mindset? Good question. Carol Dweck's research shows that just learning about the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset can already cause some people to shift their views on how they see themselves, how they see the world. Good idea. Often though, once you understand that there's a fixed mindset way of looking at things and a growth mindset point of view, choice allows you to actually move in the right direction. Now, this isn't like a soft punch. There's actually some important information about this. One of the things is when we're changing mindset, some people go, look, Derek, you know, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Like, I know this is the way I look at the world and that's it. Unfortunately, research is showing that you can actually change the way you look at things, and you can learn to shift your mindset. There's a study here that was done in 1998. Now, of course, there's debates on it, but I'm just giving you more possibilities that will be helpful to you. Is that in 1998, they studied whether or not the adult brain is capable of actually growing new brain cells. So the result of it is, and if you guys want to find out more about it, happy to talk about it. But what it did show was in adult brains, actually brain cells were reconnecting. So there was a study doing in the hippocampus of adults, and that it's natural for the brain to keep developing and growing as long as the right circumstances are there. The brain is continuously reorganizing itself. It's an efficiency machine, or it tries to be. So if you're using parts of the brain, it's going to keep firing and reconnecting. And if you're not using parts of the brain, it's going to disconnect different components of it. So that's why keeping active in different brain activities and challenging yourself is vitally important to actually keep progressing, moving, and growing. So the brain is continuously reorganizing itself and creating new neural connections, which is called neuroplasticity. And imagine that when you're actually thinking, there's connections and disconnections that are going on. So you go, okay, well, that's kind of nice, but I knew that. Well, here's a little video. And the video is actually a video of a brain having a thought. And as you see this, you're not going to hear anything because there's no audio on this. But this actual movement around is brain activity that they're monitoring as the brain, in this particular case, is thinking. So this is always happening. We're just understanding it more. And if you're interested in neuroplasticity, a good place to start, for me at least, was to look at Dr. Joe Dispenza. Now, he does a lot of stuff. He's a neuroscientist, and it was a doctor specializing in the brain, but then decided to move much more beyond that. So he actually does neurosciences, but then also talks on many other topics. But one of his famous lines is, neurons that fire together, wire together. So the more you start practicing thinking a particular way, so thinking more about continuously learning, the more your neurons or your brain starts connecting and putting these connections on. So the practicing of this behavior, of the habit of growth mindset, is really important. So how do you go about doing that? Well, here's the thing. Okay, so now I've got the brain again exercising. Your brain, all of us have learned tremendous amounts of information, and a lot of that information comes from when we were children. So when we're talking about learning and growing, like when we're kids, right? When we're young and we're learning something important, like how do we learn about walking? Well, the way you learn about walking is you start, and you can't read an instruction manual on it, and you don't necessarily have a coach, but what you do is you start learning to walk, you make a mistake, everyone gets excited about you making a mistake, so it encourages you to get up again and learn, and then you keep going and moving forward. So as a baby, we all kind of, right, we're walking along, oh, this is fantastic, oh, we fell, no problem, we just get up again, or we crawl a little bit, and we get up again. And inside the brain, we're learning all this new information constantly until we get to a point where we fall again, we get up again, and we continuously learn to walk. And now when you go out on the street, you can see everyone's walking. So their brains have already learned how to do all of this. So as kids, there's a tremendous amount of brain activity that's going on to get us to not only learn to walk, but we also do many other things that cause a lot of brain activity. So one of those things is walking. The other stuff is talking and communicating, right? The amount of brain activity it takes to actually learn to communicate in the language is huge. And if you don't believe me, try being a Canadian guy like me learning Mandarin. I mean, I wish I was this little baby's age, because maybe I could then learn Mandarin quickly. For me, it's all about slowly reconnecting and relearning and developing. And as kids, we do that as well. We've done that. In fact, there's even more complex things, like learning to eat. I mean, we take all of this for granted, but the ability to actually take something and put it in our mouths as opposed to our forehead takes quite a bit of coordination. The ability for us to learn how to walk, talk, eat, make mistakes, all of us have gone through this. But then what happens is we start slowing down a bit, right? We take all of these things for granted. As we settle, we slow down, and we go from a more growth mindset, like we were when we were children, to more of a fixed mindset. So why does this happen? Well, first thing is, great, now that we understand that that as kids, we've already got this growth mindset because that's how we've actually learned different skills. How do we do it now? Well, one of the ways of doing it is to learn to identify when you're having a fixed mindset, or when, and acknowledge that you have a choice. So these are 4 steps. If you're doing something and you already think that you're in a fixed mindset point of view, remind yourself you have a choice to actually learn and grow and develop from it. Pretend you have a growth mindset, and also say, hey, how can I move forward and grow from this particular exercise? So you go, is it that simple? Well, kind of, because it's simple to say, but it's not that simple to do. So for example, if you receive a new challenge and you say, and you're in a fixed mindset, and you say something like, okay, well, why would I actually do this? Because if I fail, what's going to happen? All of a sudden, you hit a little bit of an obstacle. And if you're in that particular situation, you might go, no, how do I now look at this from a point of view of being in a growth mindset. So if you're saying things like, can I handle this? If I had the right talent, it would be good. Hey, that wasn't my fault. Guess what? Those are all tips on the fixed mindset side of things. Then if you say, look, I have a choice on this. I can look at it as a challenge, or I can look at it as a setback. But if I look at it as a particular way to keep learning and developing, then all of a sudden I'll be able to move forward. So this pretending that you have a growth mindset is probably an important component, so that you, instead of saying, what happens if I fail, you go, you know what, I might not be able to do it now, but I can learn something, and I can put some time and effort in, and I'll be able to figure it out. And for all the people that I've been studying, this seems to be the way that they approach it. And the last part of it is, once you said, I can learn and figure it out, you go out and you do it. Because what you need to do is you need to be able to push yourself and try things out regularly. Tips on questions to ask yourself about is like, what can I learn from this? What steps can I take for me to succeed? Where can I get constructive feedback? What did I learn today? What mistakes did I make? What did I try hard at today? And what did I learn? So when do you do all these things to ask myself or yourself whether or not there's a growth mindset? Well, the time is probably now. So I put this little cartoon up because it's a little boy and a fictitious friend who is Calvin and Hobbes. And basically the little boy is saying to his imaginary friend, that's the tiger, you know, I should be doing my homework on growth mindset right now. But I always look at playing in the snow as a lot more important. Because out here, playing with the snow, I develop real skills that I can develop and apply through the rest of my life. And his friend says, well, what are you learning? He goes, well, I'm learning to procrastinate and I'm learning to rationalize. So don't learn to procrastinate and rationalize. Do some of the work. Why? Because here's a personal confession on growth mindset. My background's in psychology, and one of the areas that I dealt with, I thought, yeah, look, I understand mindset. Sure. I read Carol Dweck's book. I trained on it, and I assumed that I had a growth mindset because I knew the theory and it seemed really simple. The truth of it was, no, I was doing a lot of things, but the things weren't about me continuously learning and growing. I was actually worried about failing. So for me, fear was the thing that was driving me to do lots of amazing projects. On the outside, everybody's seeing Derek's doing some good stuff. On the inside, the things that's driving me isn't about learning, it's more about fear. And it took me a little bit of time to understand that, because it wasn't that it was bad. It's not about whether or not it's good or bad. It's about understanding the real drivers behind who you are. If you can understand that, then you can start making some big developmental benefits and approaches. So determine your mindset and what your triggers are. Learn to hear the voice in your life. Is this a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? Realize that you have a choice. And then from that choice, ask yourself, how do I keep moving, learning, and growing and moving forward? We all cool with that? Good. So now back to Carol Dweck, because she recently did this article, and it was in the New Yorker magazine. It was under Life and Arts. And she basically said, look, growth mindset is a continuous work in progress. Like you need to continuously step forward and grow. And it's a work in progress because it never stops. You think that you understand it, but after that you find out, not exactly the way I had planned it. So everyone here is definitely a work in progress. So now you go about and you say, okay, Derek, that's great. We've gone through a lot of the big points on this. Fantastic. So now show me the bonus feature that you were talking about. So in the actual bonus feature, I want to talk to you about this thing called the power of yet. So the power of yet is very interesting because Carol Dweck talks about it quite a lot. But it's more of the clinical stuff behind using the word yet to actually shape your mindset and get you to move forward. What do I mean by that? Well, there was a very interesting study done in 2011 by Moser, Schroeder, Heater, Morin, and Lee. But more importantly, what they were doing was they took two groups of people. They took a group of people, large group of people, and what they did was they measured, firstly, whether or not these people had the characteristics of fixed mindset or growth mindset. They figured that out. Then from there, what they did was they gave people challenging tasks to do. So it was a mathematical equation or something that they needed to do. And they set it up in a way that whoever did it would end up not necessarily being successful. They'd have problems actually completing the work. So, and what they did was they measured the amount of brain activity. Now here's the fascinating thing about brain activity is when all of us are working on a particular problem, when you get a surprise, like a challenge to work on, your brain actually peaks. So it goes, okay, here's a challenge and I need to work on it. And once you've got the answer, the brain activity slows down. When you find out it's wrong, there's two ways you can go. One is the brain activity just stays stable, or the other is the brain activity starts moving up again. What does that indicate? It indicates that you've done the exercise, you've made a mistake, and then either there's activity or not. If there's no activity, it indicates that you've just accepted that the mistake has happened and you're just going to keep moving forward. If there's brain activity that continues to peak after that, it means that you're thinking about what the problem is going on, what's going on with the problem, and looking at potentially other solutions. The fascinating thing about this was that when these guys did the research, they found that people that were labeled or were measured in the fixed mindset, when they worked on the problem, they had the first pattern, which was a peak on looking at doing the problem, and then once the problem was identified as not being solved, brain activity staying flat. Basically, these people are going, okay, didn't get it right, so what? People with a growth mindset, however, started peaking that second time. More brain activity was going on. So what's happening is these people are having a tendency to get engaged more. So what does this have to do with the power of yet? Well, growth mindset people want to find answers to problems. And for us, it's important to set up the system so that people can find answers to problems. It's not just I haven't found it and I need to move on to the next thing. Let me give you a case in point. A case in point is that you or your teams can change your mindset by simply speaking differently and using the word yet. What do I mean? Okay. There's this high school in Chicago where the students, in order to pass, needed to pass a certain number of courses. And what they did was they tried this yet philosophy. So what they did was they said, either you passed or you didn't pass yet. Versus what other high schools did was, which is normal for us, is either you passed or you failed. Here's the amazing thing. If the students, what they found was that the classes where, or in this particular high school where they actually did this exercise, where they said you passed or you didn't pass yet, the grades and the number of students that actually passed to graduate started skyrocketing. They said, well, why would this happen? Well, the reason why it happened is because even if you didn't pass yet, you had the opportunity to actually move forward, learn, and grow. And that little use of the word and teachers exercising the ability to share this and give people the opportunity gave them levels of confidence to go on and keep challenging and keep that activity going on. So with not yet, it actually gives you a path to pursue, and it shows that you're in a learning curve. Sometimes when I work for my boss, he comes in and he says, hey, how did project A, B, and C go? Interesting, I tried this, and I said, well, project A worked, project B did not work, and project C did not work. And he goes, well, what was wrong with project B and C? And I said, well, I'm sorry, I'm not sure, I have to figure it out. When I tried in a similar situation, I went, well, project A worked, project B didn't work yet, and project C didn't work yet. the way he was asking me questions was all different. He said, well, what can we do to make project B and C work better? So the use of it in actual practical applications is quite powerful. But don't take my word for it. Let's hear a little bit from Carol Dweck on her point of view on this. And I hope that the audio goes good.
I have fallen in love with a new word, and we're doing research on it. That word is yet. So if a child says, I'm not good at math yet. I tried X and I couldn't do it yet. And what that says is that this is a skill that's acquired over time. It's not something you're good at or you're bad at. There's a learning curve, and you're on that learning curve. And when I say to you, yet, it means get back on that learning curve. So one of the worst things in society today is that some kids wear this almost badge of honor. I'm not a math person. And you have to say yet, because everyone can learn math. Everyone can get better at it. They just have to get in there and keep trying.
Excellent. Sorry, my apologies about that. But yes, so what I love about this is she summarized it succinctly. So the power of yet, very powerful concept. When you look at it, this was just, again, a simple idea that was brought out in some educational research that I was doing. But when you're looking at writing or when you're working at a problem, you go, okay, I can't read this. But if you go yet, all of a sudden there's this upside. Or, you know, I don't know necessarily this word. And the question then is, well, I don't know it, but I don't know it yet, so I can learn about it. This book chapter doesn't make sense yet, but it will. I don't understand how to do this strategy, okay? Or I don't understand how to do it yet. So you go, yeah, that's all kind of really obvious and simple. I'll tell you, please try it, because if you do try it, you're going to see that it opens up a lot of different possibilities. So, so for me, I wanted to share this one with you because I think it's something that is very simple to do. And if you try it, you're going to see that there's going to be these open opportunities that put in growth mindset and push things forward. So look, on this, what we've gone through, and I'm just going to go through this, and then if you want more material, happy to walk you through that too. But what we've done is we've gone through mindset and success and performance. What does it mean as far as mindset is concerned? Where are mindsets important? How can you actually change it through practice and application? And also mindsets, how to go about changing them yourself. Now, we've also talked about the bonus feature, which is the use of yet, and where can you do this? Well, where you can do this now is you can actually start applying it at work or at home. And there's a couple of different steps to this. Because I've done this particular work for a while now, I realize that everyone gets really excited about this, or most people do. And what they end up doing is they say, look, I've got this great plan. And this great plan is now, from this moment on, I'm going to start applying this growth mindset, which means that everything is going to be a learning and a growing and a moving forward experience for me. And then what happens is they start on the track. But what happens is there's all these hiccups that happen. So learning a growth mindset isn't as simple as going from A to B. There's all these little complications that fall into place, things that you don't really experience or don't predict that come in when you're applying it. So like I said before, it's a continuous application process to be able to learn, to grow, to apply it, to learn, to grow, and apply it. And there's going to be lots of little curves and nuances that you need to deal with. So having said that, please remember, first, as I said before, this brain activity, now this isn't brain activity, this is actually looking out at the stars, but my gosh, how many stars are out there? And did you see that lunar eclipse the other day, or the eclipse the other day? Amazing. There's so much possibility out there. And the fact that we exist, the fact that we're here, you can research it from Dr. Ali Benazar, but he basically said there's a 1 in 400 quadrillion chance of us actually existing, and we do. So why not try some of the stuff? This is from a Dr. Seuss story, but basically, even though I've given you just a couple of basic things this morning, and I really appreciate your time and your valuable time on a Tuesday morning, try it. So from the Dr. Seuss story, this is a little man who tries to get another friend to try some new food called green eggs and ham. His friend doesn't want to do it. In fact, the whole book is about his friend doesn't want to do it and the reasons why. And finally, he tries it. This little man convinces him to try it. And you know what? He tries it and he goes, you know what? This works. So when to do it? Well, probably now. Not that it's a very hard concept, but try it now. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So again, please contact through the Singapore International Chamber of Commerce. But also, please, this is a continuous learning process for me. Yeah, we do other programs, but sorry, this is more about other programs that we work on. This is me and my background. If you're interested, I'm happy to share. But more importantly, I want to put some time aside now to answer some questions. So let me go back to this slide and then go to the Q&A section. And Victor, are you there?
I certainly am. Thank you very much, Derek. One of the things that struck me as you were talking is, and I wonder if you would agree with this, is that a fixed mindset, really taking into consideration the research, your experience of businesses and individuals, a fixed mindset suggests self-limiting ourselves. You know, because
yes,
to me, the way I interpret what you say is that there's nothing stopping us but ourselves or our mindset from progressing.
yes.
So would you accept that, first of all?
Yes, so definitely. Yeah, I'm waiting for the second part, because then often, and I'm not predicting anything, but often what people say is, great, so that means I can do anything, anywhere, anytime, you know, I can be Superman if I want, right? And I go, sure, but like this cup, it's got lots of infinite possibilities, but it's also got some limitations, right? So I'm not predicting your next part of the question, but I go, yes, you know, and we don't press ourselves hard enough to see where those limitations are. And that's probably the big thing. So, but yes, so the first part is, I agree, we have limitations, or it says open up those limitations. And for me, sorry, I didn't let you ask the rest of the question, so I'll let you do that, and then I'll answer it.
Well, that's okay, because what I'm really thinking about is that point you made about, you know, yet. I don't know how to do something yet, which means I have the choice as to whether or not to learn how to do whatever that something is.
Yeah.
Have you come across in the research and your experience with businesses and your own life experience, how can we continually apply this? Because, you know, you showed the very telling slide that this is not a straight line projection. Once you've made the decision, I buy into this, I believe it, and off I go, because we will all face obstacles of one sort or another along the way. Have you come across some sort of key attributes of how you keep going, how you keep pedaling despite the obstacles? How do you find your way around them? In other words, how do you not give up before you've started?
Okay, so I think the first part of it is let me slide back so you guys can see this slide, right? So the first part of it is knowing that there are going to be obstacles, right? It's because I think we're sold on a lot of things where you go, okay, if I buy this, it's going to solve everything, right? Like, I'll give you a stupid example, but if I bought, like, I see Tony Hawk skateboarding and I go, so, hey, I'm going to buy a skateboard, and you know what? There's no problem, because once I've got his awesome skateboard, I'm going to be a great skateboarder. One of his famous lines is, you can't learn to fly until you learn to fall, right? And part of that is, you can learn to do something, but know that there's gonna be knocks on this. So don't go in and go, I'm gonna go from A to B, no worries, and it's gonna be smooth. It's not. That's why it's really important to do things that are important to you, and choose this concept of growth mindset for the things that are important to you, right? If there's a project that you need to drive your people across on, well, we're gonna not put limits on this. It's gonna be painful, but we're gonna be able to put forward on it. And this is where we can say, you know, we don't have the budget for it yet, or we don't have the minimal viable product for it yet, or we don't understand our customers yet, which is different than saying we don't have the budget, we don't know how to do the project, and we don't understand our customers. You might think that's really dumb, but I tell you what, for the people that are still listening to this, just for fun, the next time you say no, throw the word yet at the end of the sentence. It's not that hard. I mean, you can just, or in the back of your wallet or on your mobile device, just put the word yet and try it. And you know what? It changes it, but it forces you to then go, I'm going to have to put some work into it. And this is what I think is the big opportunity in growth mindset. All of you can take this information and repeat it quite quickly. It's the application that's the hard part. It's the application that people don't like. And it's the application that's going to make all the difference to you. This one particular study, so I'm just popping back to this research on the high school. I didn't put it into this particular deck, but what they did was they took the not yet component, which is one part of it. Another school in Chicago, which is at the bottom of the ranking. So it was more in a less affluent part of town, to phrase it the right way. It was they had lots of low scores. They were basically on the bottom rung in the Chicago school system. And they said, you know, this growth mindset, they worked with Carol Dweck on it, but and they said, we're going to work with kids on rewarding their efforts, putting efforts in. So if they got the answer right or wrong, it wasn't as important as working hard towards finding the answer and continuously learning on it. They trained their people, meaning their teachers, on using this. And within a year, that school went from the bottom tier through to second, third place in the state. And it got a lot of people's attention. Second or third place, because some kids were still having the fixed mindset, but as kids, as I was showing you, it's a lot easier to learn stuff because they're not worried about all these limitations. Like sometimes I talk about, you know, a lot of what we do in business is about limitations. You know, we need to get compliance right. We need to get regulations right. We need to have deadlines, get all of that. But we're really good at that space. What we're not good at is pushing things beyond the limit, challenging things a little bit more to get those really yummy or exciting results. And that's where it's going to take work, right? It's going to, like a fitness routine, you can do it for 2 weeks, but if you're not passionate about it, after the 2 weeks, the fitness routine drops. Unfortunately, it's 6 months down the track if you continuously do the fitness routine where you see these incredible gains. But people don't tell you that because they don't want to go through that continuous pain. So even with the fitness stuff, I'm not there yet is different than I'm not there, right?
Right. So it's being positive and it's keeping going.
Yeah.
And reminding yourself every step of the way that you've got a choice. Yes.
And another thing that I'm looking very closely at is what are people, like commitment. You're committed to make this happen, right? Like a lot of people aren't. So if you're committed, it means come hell or high water, I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to give it a go for a certain amount of time. And then I'm going to take a really hard look at it and decide whether or not I want to do it. And often people, once it gets tough or not exactly the way they plan, then they stop. That's probably the wrong time to stop, right? The best time to stop is once you said, I've given it a go, I've reviewed it thoroughly, now I know it's garbage, or now I know it's amazing.
Okay, thank you. Let's take some questions from the audience. So here's a kind of why, if you like, a curveball from an anonymous attendee. I don't normally take questions from anonymous attendees, but it's a curveball. So growth mindset is great, this person says. However, just curious, do you have any examples of situations where a fixed mindset is more beneficial than a growth mindset?
Yes, of course. I mean, look, I'm not going to drink from the Kool-Aid and go, it solves everything, right? A fixed that's not the world we live in. So a fixed mindset is really about, it's about saying there's limitations, and those limitations are just what we're going to deal with. So examples of how a fixed mindset works, your personality, you might go, you know, I'm grumpy, but I just like being grumpy, right? Or in a work environment, you know, again, and please understand, I love compliance and regulation. I love them. There's no issue to it. But their job is about keeping things in a box, right? This is the box, and the reason why the box is there is because it's safe, it's secure, it keeps us out of trouble. So having a fixed mindset, definitely as a starting point, is good. Also, fixed mindset is often in our school systems. It's very much about we're continuously learning, but there's usually only one way of getting the right answer, right? It limits where you're continuously learning. So like if you go 1 + 1 is 2, and you go, you got it right, that's a fixed mindset does that, right? A growth mindset goes, yes, the effort that you put in to learn that was awesome. Yeah, you got the answer right or not. So often our systems right now are about having the right answer as opposed to looking at the possibilities. And for things to get done, especially the way we set things up in our economies, you need that. You need those components. You need things to get done within tight time frames, and you count on what's been done before to be able to do that. But we're reaching this section now of what's going on, especially with all this change, that things were right and that there was only one right answer isn't going to get us through a lot of the future stuff. So that's where the growth mindset is going to help more, because then you go, okay, we've got the right answer, but there's probably more learning that we can do on this to actually get the better answer to all these dramatic changes that we've gone through, right? So, and as I've said to Mr. or Miss Anonymous, there's no wrong or right to this. You just understand that it has some positive limitations and some negative. Being completely growth mindset, maybe that would drive us crazy, right? I don't know, but I know where it could be and where we are, there's this huge gap. And there's more advantages than disadvantages right now. That's the exciting thing, right? And that's why I say to people, you know you and your business and your organization better than I do, definitely. And this is a real simple concept. So try it out. Maybe you're going to see some benefits from this, right?
Okay, here's a great question next from Shirley. When we work with people who have a fixed mindset, how can we help or encourage them to change? Especially when they either can't or won't see that they have a fixed mindset.
Okay, cool. So the fixed mindset stuff it's a label. Like it's a label for someone's type of behavior so that we can understand it. So, you know, I mean, I think the worst thing that can happen is, so there's two parts to the answer. The worst thing is someone comes up to you and goes, hi, you've got a fixed mindset and here's all the limits that you have, right? Deal with it. I don't know about you, but for me, again, I'm doing it personally, I get defensive, right? Like it's natural. When you're defensive, it's a push strat, like you naturally push back. So often on that stuff, instead of a push strategy, you want them to want to know what the benefits are. So often a fixed mindset, or you think someone's got a fixed mindset, you can work on giving them stuff to work on together with you and show how the learning actually opens up new positive benefits. And then they go, what did you just do? I thought that was already sealed. You go, well, actually, you know, if we picked up what happened last time a couple of times and we improved on that, we can get some good efficiency gains, right? So the way it worked for me once was, this was an accounting department. And again, fantastic people, but they had a way of doing things. And they said, we're not going to deviate from that. And I go, but you know what? Our not our competitors, but our team in Malaysia are doing the exact same thing, but they had a problem here. Do you guys have that problem? They go, yeah. They go, well, this is what they did to actually save a day of processing time. Would that help? They go, yeah, that'd help. Let's go check it out. So then they ended up calling the Malaysian team, finding out about it, and then learning from it and applying it. Now, did I say, so you were a fixed mindset on this, you were a growth mindset, do you see the benefits? I didn't do that. I just said, yeah, there's stuff that we can learn from other people. Isn't that cool? Right? So often with a fixed mindset, find something that is important to the person, give them the opportunity to see potential limits within that, give them the breadth to discover that it is a bit limited. And then that goes back to that thing I was saying earlier. Then give them a choice. Say, you can leave it like this, or you can choose to make it better. And if it's quite obvious that they're going to make it better, then you're getting them on the way. It's only in your head you need to know that it's fixed and growth, right? But if you're getting people to constantly learn, and what I've found is often people, if they don't want to learn, they don't want to learn. But if it helps their KPIs, all of a sudden they do want to learn, right? Because it gives them something valuable, like it's a mysterious benefit. Okay, great. So let's learn on something that's going to improve your KPIs.
Okay, thank you. Here's one from Craig. How important is grit in the context of developing a growth mindset?
Oh my gosh, Craig, you're awesome. In fact, if you take the work from grit, and so that's one of the people that does that is Angela Duckworth. There's other people that do it. And you take Carol Dweck's work, they actually match very nicely. And one of the components within grit, there's 4 different sections that the work that Angela Duckworth works on. So she says, to be gritty, you need to, so grit meaning passion, perseverance, and resilience over the long term. So how do you do that? She said, so there's a couple of things that you need. One is you need to be interested in the thing that you want to be gritty about. Another thing is you need to practice it. And there's a particular, there's some research that she talks about, but essentially you need to practice it properly. Like you need to really work hard at practicing the skill. The third part of it is, what is your bigger purpose behind the interest? What's the reason behind it? And then the fourth one is, she uses the word hope, but the hope is the stuff that keeps you moving forward. I've looked at it from, if I replace her word hope with the word growth mindset, it's instrumental in being able to be gritty. Because in order to keep moving forward and persevering and being resilient over the long term, it's nice to have an interest in the practice and have a purpose. But if you're not continuously learning from it, you're not growing. And if you're not growing, you're going to stagnate really quickly. So, Greg, your answer is growth mindset, and having a growth mindset is probably a foundation piece for being gritty.
Okay, and let's wrap this up, Derek. Wilson wants to know, and this has been upvoted, will you be able to share your slide deck with us?
Yes, so the slide deck I'm happy to share with, but what I would like people to do is just write to SICC and say, yes, I want the slide deck, and the reason why I want the slide deck is the following. Now, the reason why I do this is not because I want to be a stick in the mud. It's because I really believe that if you want to put the effort in, and since this is a growth mindset thing and it's all about effort, you're going to put the effort in and be able to explain why you want the deck and how you're going to use it. And then I'm happy to share it. All of this stuff is already available on the internet anyways. It's not anything's proprietary except maybe, you know, the format. So I don't really care about that. But what I want you to do is I do want you to put, especially since this is the growth mindset workshop or talk, I want you to put some effort in to explain how and why, and then I'm happy to actually share the information.
Derek, thank you so much for being with us. And I want to thank the audience too for taking the time to be with us this morning. Developing a growth mindset is not easy, but it can have transformational impact in terms of personal lives as well as our businesses. And I also want to throw this one out to the audience. You know, membership of a chamber is like membership of a gym. If you don't use it, you won't get any value or benefit out of it. So my challenge to you is to let me and my team know how we can help you better. We don't second guess, and we don't know everything. So apply some of the stuff that you've heard this morning from Derek to helping to develop your chamber, because that will help you and help others. And you can always reach us at heretohelp@sicc.com.sg. So thank you again for spending your time with us. Derek, thank you again for another enthusiastic presentation. And I want to thank everybody for the time and the effort of being with us this morning. Keep growing, don't self-limit, and good luck. Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.